Welcome to episode 70, Getting in Front of Industry Analysts.
Welcome to the PR Playbook Podcast, the only podcast giving you actionable skills and advice you need to execute a strategic PR program. Warning: what you hear next may lead to brand awareness and increased sales and customer exposure. Now here's your host, Ranjini Joshua.
Hello and welcome to episode 70, all about analyst relations. When you're selling to enterprise customers, analysts can be a great ally, especially in the tech space. Major reports like the Gartner Magic Quadrant, Forrester Wave, seed out the best of the best and provide insights to large enterprises when they're choosing their technology partners. So this is definitely something you want to think about when you are starting up and even after you've already established. If you're looking to support business development, analyst relations is a great way to build credibility and thought leadership. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how to target analysts, start vendor conversations, and what to expect during an analyst briefing. So here we go. First things first, who do you target? So there are analysts for every industries, and then there's also different specialties within those industries. The big tech analyst firms that you can start with could be Gartner, Forrester, IDC, 451 Group, and Ovum, just to name a few. And analyst firms will have pages and pages of descriptions of their analysts with detailed backgrounds on what reports they have written, what topics they cover. I think the analyst websites are probably the most descriptive websites that I've seen, nothing like when you're dealing with media relations. So when you go to an analyst website, take a look, dig into analyst background. One of the ways that we identify and target analysts is by basically searching for reports that cover the topic that we want. So let's just say it was like cloud computing. You would just go into their search and their reports, type in like next generation cloud computing, and all their cloud computing reports would come up, and the analysts are listed in those reports. So then you dive into those analysts from that place. So searching on their website is a great place to start. And then from there, diving into the background of the analyst is a good thing to do next. So after that, what's next? You submit a vendor briefing request. The reason that you first looked for the analyst is because the more specific that you can be when submitting a vendor briefing request, the more likely it is that they will want to interview you. So a vendor briefing request is not a guarantee that you are going to get an analyst briefing, but it's the first step. You will have to, of course, introduce your company, make it sound sexy, and make them want to talk to you. Most analyst firms are looking to do business with you and help you carve out your name in the space. So they want to help you. They also want to help their enterprise customers. And they're also looking for like the next big thing. So discovering those companies is usually, not the easiest thing. There's hundreds and hundreds of startups all the time. So submitting a vendor briefing request is the best way to go. You're going to get an answer no matter what. It's not like the abyss of media relations. You submit a request and there's like a formal process, ticketing process. And basically you'll introduce yourself, your company. You'll want to kind of create a really good company description. They'll probably ask you, what do you want this briefing to be about? And they will ask you if you have analysts in mind to brief. If you do, you are much more likely to get the briefing secured. And maybe not all the analysts will participate, but that way they don't have to search for the analysts that they think fit into your kind of scope. You already searched for those analysts and you've done a lot of the work for them. And it's probably likely that you found the right ones if you're doing the research correctly. So it's a really good place to make sure exactly who you want to target and to score that briefing. So go into it with specific analysts that you want to brief in mind and get ready to wow them with milestones, information, anything that you have that will impress them and like basically solidify your position in the space. So now you've submitted your vendor briefing request and you have an analyst briefing set up. What do you do next? What do you expect during the briefing? So go into the briefing to be ready to back your claims. Big analyst firms like Gartner are positioned to poke holes in your story and challenge your position. So I've seen this done live. If you're going into a conversation to talk about how your technology integrates AI, be very ready to be so specific on how artificial intelligence is used in your technology. They will break down your story as much as they can to make sure that there's no holes in it, because their job is to find the truth, quote unquote. So when going into a big analyst briefing, it's almost even like going into an investor meeting, but with more technical prowess. These guys have technical knowledge and they talk to companies all the time. So go in there prepared, go in there with a deck, a presentation to validate your claims. Never go into an analyst briefing without a deck. You must have some kind of visual representation of what you're talking about, your market, understanding your market. Whoever does the presentation needs to know your company in and out. And it's best if an executive does it. So, like a CEO, CTO, someone at the C level, because you really want to impress the analyst. You want to give them the full understanding of why your company should be considered with the best of the best, especially in reports like Magic Quadrant or the Wave. Or I think Gartner has cool vendors. So just as much as you want to wow them, you probably won't get enough time to show them a demo. These meetings are only 30 minutes. So introductory vendor briefings are 30 minutes. It kind of gives them a gauge of whether they want to talk to you anymore, whether they want to do a demo, whether they want to follow up, whether they're writing a report. So there's a lot of different caveats to this analyst briefing. So if they request to follow up, you probably did a really good job, and then you'll be able to have a little bit more time for a demo. And every analyst is a little bit different. Some are engaging, they'll ask a lot of questions. Some will just be there to listen. I do have a feeling that analysts have to take a certain amount of vendor briefing requests every month. So there could be those analysts that are just there because they have to be. And then there are those analysts, like if you pick the right ones, are the ones that really are interested in the types of technology that you're doing. So like I said, if they request a follow up, then you're in good standing. And most of their meetings typically last 30 minutes. If you have an hour, then you are like in a really, really hot spot. And then also frequency. You should do vendor briefings at least once a year at minimum to stay in touch with to stay in touch with analysts and to keep you on their radar. And then anytime you might have like a big occurrence, a milestone, a huge round of funding, a product enhancement that makes a big impact on your bottom line or changes your business direction or rebranding or something like that, definitely you'll want to plan at least like 1 month ahead of time to get in touch with these analysts, because their schedules really fill up. They keep a pretty full calendar. So you want to have 3 or 4 weeks in advance of any big announcement to secure a briefing with the analysts. Last but not least, and don't be deterred by this, most analyst firms are looking for your business. So they have a business to do as well. Of course, they have to know everything about the industry, but they also want to score your business. So don't let this deter you from setting up a vendor briefing. I think getting in touch with analysts, having them as a validation, third party, every analyst group works a little bit differently. Some are a little bit more buttoned up like Gartner. Some are a little bit more flexible like ABI or IDC. But most likely they are going to try to follow up with you to sell their services with their marketing team. So these usually come with a hefty price tag, but consider customer acquisition and who you're targeting when you're talking to them. It may be worth it. Also consider the position that you're in of your company growth or company development. Sometimes you can get an analyst on as an advisor to help you make sure that you're targeting properly, your business development is growing properly, and that you're positioning it properly. Remember, these guys talk to enterprise size companies all the time and those decision makers. So their job is actually to help those decision makers make the right decision. And if you come into play there and you play nice or you have a relationship, then you're able to position and create messaging that suits these big enterprise customers. And that could be a huge opportunity for you. So validation from a company like Gartner can maybe even get you like $1 million deal. So just keep those conversations open. Don't close the door completely. Be honest, but that doesn't mean you have to get into an arrangement to do a vendor briefing, which is why I love vendor briefings and why I think they're so critical, especially if you want to get into a hype cycle or Magic Quadrant or cool vendors or Forrester Wave or any of those lists. And once you create an analyst relationship, make sure to nurture them and position yourself as an expert in the space that they are interested in. So once you identify their expertise, check in with them maybe every quarter and see if they're working on a report. See if you can lend a hand. Maybe you can connect them with one of your customers, or maybe you guys are the experts in whatever they're writing. So make sure that you're checking with these analysts on a quarterly basis. I mean, you really only have to have like a dozen analysts on your list, and just a quick check-in could make all the difference in the world of you being included in a report or missing a report. So now that you have all this information, take it, go forth, and brief those analysts. Good luck, and see you on the other side.